All right, hello everyone, and welcome back. It's that time of the week. It's time for some more One Hub Racing's P3 tier. Today we arrive at the Spanish Grand Prix for round 6 of this 8-round Season 21 championship. And I am joined, as always, by ERT Toma. And Toma, how are you doing today? And are you looking forward to yet another great race here in the P3 tier?
I'm doing very well, and definitely, yeah. Every race so far every race we've had so far this season has been exciting. Tons of action across the track from lap one to the from lap one to the very end. And I'm hoping today just brings exactly the same. And I think Spain is a good track for that.
And yeah, like I mentioned at the start of this, it's round 6 of 8, so there's not long left to go in this championship. And that means that the championship battle is getting quite close between all of the drivers. We've had a different race winner, I think, at every single circuit, so it's really anyone's game. But this is how it's shaping up currently. We have ERT Jordan, who is leading the championship standings with 53 points, just 2 points ahead of Kong Hoffner, who's on 51. 3 points behind with 48 points is Gazman in P3 in the standings. And we also have Aero Specialist with 47 points. Obviously, a crucial win last time out at Hungary has put him in that position. So there's 4 drivers all separated by 6 points and only 3 rounds to go. So definitely keep an eye on those drivers. ERT Jordan, Kong Hoffner, Gazaman, and Aero Specialist. If I'm not mistaken, all of them have been able to attend today. So that's good to see. And we're going to be able to see what their pace is like around this Spanish Grand Prix. And coming into this race, is there anyone who maybe you think could do particularly well here, or do you think it's truly anyone's game like we've seen so many times in this P3 tier?
I think you're right saying it's anyone's game. I think, yeah, that's how it's been all season. I think if I have to call a name out, put a bit of pressure on someone, possibly give someone the commentator's curse, I think I'll have to go with Pricey. He's been at the back of past couple races, but he showed in Austria he can pull out a win, and I hope he'll be able to get himself back up there today.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if he can do just that. But since we're now in this qualifying stage, it's that time. It's time for the engine penalty list. So, like we have here in One Hub Racing, every driver puts wear on their engine after doing a certain amount of laps. So they need to keep track of it. And a couple of drivers have decided to take a new engine for today. And among those drivers are ERT Thomas, Cyanex, Passy has taken a grip penalty, although I'm not sure that I actually see him here on this list, so maybe his Discord is different to his PSN.
I believe that is Racing Bomber.
So Racing Bomber, that is. That's quite a big name. So Thomas, Cyanex, Racing Bomber, and Kong Hoffner. Now that is quite crucial. Racing Bomber and Kong Hoffner, 2 drivers that we usually see quite up there, although Kong Hoffner has been struggling in this middle stage of the season, so he's going to be starting from the back. We'll have to see what he can do from that position, but we can see Rich 500 returning in the McLaren. Obviously won one of the races, or no, sorry, got pole position in Imola, I think it was, and just missed out on the win. Which went to Racing Bomber, if I am not mistaken. He's just come into the pit lane, so he's obviously made an error on his lap time. And you can see no one has actually set a lap time just yet. Looks like one of the AlphaTauris is about to begin their lap. So let's ride on board with the AlphaTauri of Evil Dragon, who was doing so well last time out in Hungary. And very surprised that he didn't get the win. But Aero Specialist just had a great strategy which got him that win in Hungary. You can see on the run down into turn 1 and 2. Very high speeds through here. Although I'm not sure if Evil Dragon is actually on a lap now because he's going very slowly through this turn 3. So maybe he got a bad exit out of the last turn. I'm not sure. But you can see Gazaman is the first man to set a time, and he sets a 1 minute 18 flat. That's a very quick time from Gazaman, actually 2/10 ahead of Speed Quinn, and then his teammate Alls in P3 with a 19.1. We're seeing a couple more lap times come through. Gabri with an 18.1. And I think I've said it before, but I was extremely surprised that Gabri only scored her first points in round 4, was it? And even though we can see the pace that she has, you can see right now with an 18.1, 1/10 off of Gazaman, who's in that championship battle. Is that something that surprises you, that a driver like this with so much pace just lacking a little bit of consistency?
I think so, because in Miami we did see both of them up in the podium place, but unfortunately they forgot about the mandatory 2-stop rule. But in qualifying, they've always shown a bit of pace. I think it's just they haven't been able to make it work in the race due to incidents or just lack of pace. So I hope for most drivers just to try and to get the most of what they can out of the weekend, and I hope they can pull together a bit of form in these last few races and maybe work towards getting up high in the constructors or getting themselves a high scoring place in the actual drivers' championship itself.
Yeah, I definitely hope that they can too, but obviously Sinex will be starting from the back of the grid. But we're now riding on board with the championship leader, ERT Jordan, for a full lap of this Barcelona Circuit de Catalunya. You can see coming through turn 3 a very tight line through here to make the run as short as possible as we head down into turn 4. A very long right-hander. You have to keep the speed up while also getting a good exit. You can see a little bit of oversteer there. Just wasn't aggressive enough at the start of the throttle application, and then realized that, got on the throttle a bit too early in the end, and had a bit of oversteer from there. So it's not been the best turn 4, but you can now see we're going up in the hill. We're in sector 2 now as we come through this turn 11, I think that is. And then the all-new turn 12, if I'm not mistaken, you can see very different compared to the pretty much a hairpin that we had last time. You can see taking quite a tight line into there. I think you definitely want to go out a bit wider, carry the speed, get that good exit. And then this very slow and tricky technical section of the final chicane in the 3rd sector. Once you're done with that, you just have this final turn to go through, flat out through here with the DRS wide open. What kind of time is it going to be? It's going to be an 18.2 for the Mercedes driver. That puts him P5 in the session, and you can see the top 6 all separated by about 0.3 of a second. So obviously Spain, especially with that new turn in the 3rd sector instead of the old hairpin, it's become quite a short lap time, and a bit of a recurring theme here that we're seeing in the One Hub Racing calendar, as it looks like ERT Jordan actually has a spin there on his in-lap, thankfully only damaging his front wing and not losing a tyre there. But yeah, like I was saying, we're seeing a lot of short tracks on this calendar. So with this being another short track, are you surprised that the gaps are so small between the top 6?
Not at all. It's from what we've seen over the season, this whole tier is so compact, or they're so equal in pace. Like you said earlier, any race can be anyone's game, and I think we've seen a lot of that this season. So I'm not surprised at all that everyone is close together, and it makes qualifying just that more exciting. You've got multiple drivers all fighting for that pole position. Yeah,
and obviously we have 16 drivers today, but obviously 4 of them aren't taking part in the qualifying session. That's Thomas, Cyanex, Racing Bomber, and it looks like Hookie has actually retired from the session. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or not, because I didn't see his name on the penalty list. And then obviously Kong Hoffner also has a penalty as well. This is interesting to see, though. I was just riding on board with ERT Jordan. It looks like he's actually going for 2 laps in a row. So we went for a bit of a cool down lap, and now he's going again. He's recharged the battery, and he's doing 2 laps on this set of soft compound tires. So that's an interesting approach from the championship leader. We now see Rich 500 coming out of the pit lane. He still hasn't got a lap time on the board just yet, and we only have 8 minutes to go in the session. Another person without a lap time is Aero Specialist. He really needs to get that lap time on the board if he wants to continue his championship fight. Only 6 points behind the leader, ERT Jordan, so he definitely still has a chance in these final 3 rounds, but he needs to make sure that he sets a lap time. And let's find someone to ride on board with for another lap of this Circuit de Catalunya. We can see Gabri currently P2 on an 18.1, the only driver in the 18.1. Obviously, just behind Gazelman on an 18 flat. So, Toma, would you like to ride us through this lap with the Williams driver?
I just need to find where I am. So yeah, you just start off the track by going down the pit straight. Just make sure you've got your throttle fully down. Break down to about 4th gear, come down into tricky right left, and then follow into pretty much almost flat out turn 3, which can be tricky. You might run a bit wide as we see Gabri run a bit there. You go into turn 4, which you want to get. You want to stay as close to that inside as possible to get the shortest line to the next turn. Then followed up by shift down to about gear 2, come down, and then you come to this really tricky part in the track where it is very easy to hit the sausage curves on the inside and spin the car or unsettle it and just lose a bit of time, and followed by another incredibly tricky corner. It's very hard to get this right, but see, Gabri has done it very well there. Open the DRS, come into the brand new turn, and so you want to keep so you just want to come out wide, come into this another long right-hander, follow into the last few turns of the track. Come back down into this very tricky chicane where if you hit the sausage curve again, very easy to unsettle the car, and you just flat out through the last corner, open the DRS on the pit straight, and you come through for a lap. And Gabri has managed to hit an 18 flat, but failing to beat Gazelman.
So a very good lap time there from the Williams driver, but like you said, just outside of that provisional pole range. He's only 34 1,000ths off though, so it's very, very close between the top guys. We also see Rich 500 come across the line. He was one of the drivers who hadn't set a lap time. Well, now he has, and he takes provisional pole position by almost a 1/10 of a second. So that's a very good time from him. First man to get into the 1:17s. We also have M. Price, who was on a lap, but as you can see, he has spun on the exit of turn 9. Definitely a very tricky turn, but he's getting his car back on track and getting ready to go out into the pit lane and go out for another lap. You can see Speed Quinn now starting a lap time. Currently down in P5 with an 18.2. You can see plenty of drivers currently on an 18.2. Coming into turn 1 and 2, hits that apex of turn 2 very nicely without unsettling the car. Then a tight line while also drifting wide on exit. And now we come into turn 4. It's very crucial to hit this apex on the outside, then use the full width of the track on the left, even using a little bit of the grass on the exit. We now on the downhill left-hander of turn 5. Very tricky to get it on the power out of there. You can see actually avoiding the curb, doesn't want to unsettle the car by using the aerodynamics of the floor over the curb. We now come through turn 9. Very tricky, very easy to get oversteer. You can see not going as tight as possible there. Like I said, it's very easy to unsettle the car. We now come into turn 10 though. A lot of speed required here. You really need to carry it through. That was a good line from Speed Quinn going through there. The uphill of turn 12, very tricky with the traction. Once again, there's a lot of tricky traction zones around this circuit de Catalunya, but we now come into the final chicane of turn 14 and 15. You can see taking quite a bit of the sausage curve there on the apex of turn 15, and coming across the line. What kind of time is it going to be from Speed Quinn? It's a decent one, but it's not a big improvement. It is enough to move himself up into P4, but it was only a 2/100th improvement, but he has improved his position, and at the end of the day, that's all he needs to do. So P4 right now for Speed Quinn, still on an 18.2. Aero Specialist also on an 18.2, but all the way down in P8. So he's got 3.5 minutes to set a better lap time in this session. But if we take a look at the engine penalties, we have ERT Thomas, ERS Kong Hofner, Racing Bomber Sinex, and then I think Hookie must have made a mistake on one of his lap times, which led to the end of his session. Do you think a lot of those drivers towards the back could cause a bit of mayhem in the earlier stages of this Grand Prix?
Yeah, we've seen a lot from Kong Hofner recently. Coming into the middle section, he's struggling a bit, but I think he's looking to get back into that top step. And we've seen during the beginning of the season, he was very strong, very fast driver. So especially during the race, and he's quite consistent. So hopefully he's able just to work his way up the grid, get himself back into that top spot. And I can say the same for Racing Bomber as well. got a win a couple of weeks ago, so I think he might still be riding a bit high on that, so he can try and work his way from the grid. And unfortunately, with the way how the penalties have worked, he will be starting in at the very back, so he will need to make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, he definitely will. It'll be interesting to see if he does. We know he's a driver who really likes to burn the ERS, get it all out of the way to make as many moves as possible. And, well, that's going to be a perfect approach from his current position. You currently have Gazaman in P2 on an 18 flat, currently on his out lap. So he's getting the tyres prepared, getting them into the right temperature window. And, well, we'll have to see if he can improve on his lap time. It's interesting to see. I think this is actually his second lap time of the session rather than his third, as he set that 18 flat at the very start of the session. So opting to save 2 sets of soft compound tires for the race, which could definitely help him out because of the mandatory 2-stop. And we now see him come out of the final turn, getting ready to start what could possibly be the pole position lap time in this Spanish qualifying session. It's a long run down to turn 1. You can see not using the full width of the track, taking a tighter line to get a better run through turn 2 there, but then a nice and tight line once again, drifting wide a little earlier than a couple of the other drivers going through turn 3. You can see Gabri slowing down there. She must have made a mistake on her flying lap. She's going to have to recharge the battery and go again. But Gazaman, meanwhile, is coming through turn 5 using the full width of the track here, getting himself the best exit possible, and on the run down into turn 7 and 8. Very tricky through there. You can see not opting to take that sausage curb on the inside of turn 8, but a nice and tight line into turn 9 to give himself the best possible run on this DRS straight down to turn 10, hitting that apex nice. You can see this is the kind of line I was talking about. Hit the apex early and then drift out wide to get on the power as early as possible. 4th gear through turn 12, getting on that power once again. And then it's the final tricky section at this Spanish track through turn 14, 15 and now 16. And to end off this lap time and the qualifying session, what time is it going to be from Gazaman? It's a 17.5 and a 5/10 improvement. That puts him well out in front, but he's got Rich right behind him on a 17.9 currently, looking to improve. Evil Dragon goes all the way up into P2 with this 1 minute 17.8, so he is on the provisional front row. Can Rich displace either of them? Coming out of the middle sector, he is a 10th up on his time. Is that enough though? It's only going to beat Evil Dragon at this stage. He needs to improve by 4/10 to beat Gazaman's time, which is a very quick time indeed. And you can see he's just gone too early on the power there, wanted to gain too much time, asked too much of the car, and he is now out of this qualifying session. He's currently P4. ERT Jordan, championship leader, came across the line a few moments ago to come P3 in the session with a 17.9. Can M. Pricey displace either of them? A driver with a lot of pace, and he can, because he goes P2 with a 17.7, 2.5 tenths off of the pole time of Gazaman, but that puts him on the front row. Lawrence finishing up his lap time. He goes into the top 5 and displaces Rich 500 Aero Specialist in the championship battle. What is his final time going to be across the line? It's going to be a 17.9, and he goes into the top 5, and that is exactly the kind of qualifying performance he needed. So we have Gazaman in P1, ERT Jordan and Aero Specialist in P4 and 5. Meanwhile, Kong Hoffner down in P13, and that's definitely not the position he's going to want to have started from after taking that engine penalty. But his 3 championship rivals all starting in the top 5. So wow, is there any surprises for you there in that qualifying session?
I think the surprising part of that was how much Gazaman pulled ahead of every driver. He put in an absolute amazing lap. Still at pole by 2/10. So I'd say that's the real surprise. But then again, we shouldn't be surprised. He's always had that pace in qualifying. Quite like seeing ERT Jordan up in P4. That's a pretty good spot for him. And Pricey, like I said, putting a bit of pressure on him earlier, has got himself up to P2. So yeah, but I'd say that was a very good end to a very good qualifying session.
It definitely was. It's a shame to see that Rich made that final mistake on that final lap. As you can see by the timing boards, if he had improved by 6/100ths of a second, he would have shot all the way up into P4. So that just shows how close it was at the very top. 6/100ths separating P4 to P7. And then obviously Gazaman showing what he's made of in qualifying, as he usually does, by pulling out a 2.5 gap over M. Pricey. He managed to find that final lap time and got it when he needed it most. So he starts on the front row of the grid for this Spanish Grand Prix. Coming into this race, we obviously have the mandatory 2-stop rule and also no formation laps. We're going to get shot right into the action. But Toma, with the mandatory 2-stop rule, is there any strategies you can think of that the drivers might go for? Are they going to use softs and mediums? Could you see maybe a couple of drivers using the hard compound tyres?
We've seen a lot of drivers use the hard compounds, sometimes over the mediums. I feel like they might know something that other drivers don't. Maybe the hards, when they've warmed up fully in their prime, they kind of come straight. They do better than the mediums and they last a lot longer. But I would expect two medium stints and a soft stint. I think that's the bare minimum we can expect here today. Because softs do not last long around Spain, so I don't think they can stretch two unless you really stretch out that mediums or even a set of hards.
Yeah, and I definitely think soft, medium would be one of the ideal strategies. The only problem with this current game is that you only get one set of hards and one set of mediums for the race. So it's going to be very tricky for the drivers when the ideal strategy is just out of reach. But you can see we have 5 red lights. They're gone and we're away. What kind of start is it for our pole man, Gazaman? We'll have to see, as it's a good one up against M. Price, who does not get the best of starts on the run down into turn 1. That's because Evil Dragon is on his outside. That's a collision in the background between ERT Thomas and MFC Trunders, and that has already brought out what is the virtual safety car after just 3 turns for Gazaman. So that was quite quick there off of the line. That was ERT Thomas and MFC Trunders involved, if I'm not mistaken. A big collision between the two of them. As you can see, MFC Trunders has no front wing, so he's going to have to come into the pit lane to get that repaired. Although it is actually the full course safety car already. So we haven't even completed 3 turns and the full course safety car has been released. And, well, at least this gives us a chance to talk about the strategy, although I don't know that that is going to last for long, as I'm assuming a lot of drivers are going to come into the pit lane after that one. But you can see Cynex in just... He started quite far back, so he completed 1 turn and gained 5 positions. That just shows how chaotic that start was. And he moves all the way from P14 to P5, and then MFC Trunders, who was obviously caught up in that collision, has lost the most positions. He falls from P10 to P14 and also has a stop to make. But I assume we're going to see a lot of drivers coming to pit lane. You can see the leader, Gazaman, boxing as he started on the soft compound tyres, and Pricey in a difficult position because he started on the mediums, although ERT Jordan, who also started on the mediums, comes into the pit lane for a set of hard compound tyres, which you can only assume he's going to stretch for a long time and then go to the softs until the end, unless of course there are going to be more safety guys, which I definitely think we can count on. You can see Gazaman has actually gone for the hard compound tyres, along with Lawrence going for the hards and most others going for the mediums, although Kong Hofner going for a second set of soft compound tyres. So an interesting approach from the championship contender in the Alfa Romeo. But now that the field has been somewhat neutralized and we can now see every single driver has made a stop bar M. Pricey, so that's going to put him on a massive back foot. So he's either going to have to stay out and stick it out, hope for another safety car, or he's going to have to box and lose a lot of track position. But we can see a lot of drivers picking mediums, a lot of drivers picking hards, and then Kong Hofner picking the soft compound tyres. What would be your predicted strategies from these guys? Do you think they're going to stretch those hards and maybe go softs to the end? Maybe use that very same set of mediums that they started on? What's your take on this?
It is definitely possible that a lot of drivers who have gone off their mediums that they started on can go back onto that set. They only did 1 lap on it, so they can. Those tyres are practically fresh at this point, so that is available. I think a lot of drivers will try and, especially Gazaman and Lawrence and Jordan, and drivers who have all gotten onto the hards, maybe they hope they can stretch them out and maybe go for a set of softs right at the very end. I am looking forward to see what Kong Hoffner can do on those set of softs, because he needs to make up a lot of ground to stay within this title fight. So, like I said, he needs to make up a lot of ground, and he needs to start overtaking people as soon as the safety car comes in.
Yeah, and like we've seen many times before in this tier, drivers banking on a safety car to going for the aggressive strategy, like we see with Kong Hoffner going for the soft compound tires, but maybe, who knows, he's banking on a safety car that could come out in a few laps time, and then he can get his final stop in, go to the hard compound tires, and that's actually, definitely a good approach from himself and everyone else who hasn't opted for the hard tires. If another safety car comes out in, let's say, 10 laps, and you still have a fresh set of hards, they can easily make it to the end. Whereas if you're a set down on hard compound tires and a safety car comes out around lap 13, well, those mediums are not going to make it to the end if you box for them. And softs definitely aren't either, so you're going to have to go for pretty much a 3-stop. So yeah, I definitely think it's a very good strategy to conserve a hard set of tires, because when it comes to safety cars and this mandatory 2-stop rule, a fresh set of hard compound tires in the pit lane is usually going to be your best friend, because it gives you lots and lots and lots of flexibility on the strategy. You can go long, you can go short with them, you can really do whatever you like with them and still have somewhat decent pace with them. But like we know here in One Hub Racing, the strategy is absolutely crucial to a race win, as we saw with Aero Specialist last time out. He didn't have the pace to go for pole position, he didn't have the pace to keep up with the top 5, but just with a great strategy was able to take the race win. So just shows how important that race strategy is. But we are now getting ready to get back underway. We have M. Pricey leading us for the safety car restart after not boxing and staying out on his medium compound tires, although they'll still be faster than Gazaman's hard, since they've barely done 2 laps, and those 2 laps have been under safety car conditions. So I definitely think he's going to have some good traction of the safety car restart. But let's ride on board with him and see when is he going to pick his time to go and start accelerating, maybe catch Gazaman off guard. You can see coming out the final turn now. It's a good one up against Gazaman, who's obviously got the worst start on the hard compound tires. 7/10 is the gap between them, so it's definitely a very good restart. Gabri is already putting pressure under Lawrence ahead of him. Lawrence on the hard, so he struggled off the safety car restart. Gabri in the Williams looking to the outside, squeezes Lawrence to the inside. Both leave each other enough room, and Gabri gets through with the inside line going through turn 2. So Gabri moves up into P5. That's a good restart and exactly the kind of one she would have wanted. Kong Hoffner also putting pressure under Rich ahead of him, and he goes around the outside coming into turn 3. That's a spin there for Cyanex and Speed Quinn. They possibly could have collided there because they've lost a lot of time. Another person who's lost a lot of time is Gazaman. M. Pricey making the most of these mediums because Gazaman is already outside of that 1 second gap. Once the DRS is enabled, he's going to be under a lot of pressure from Evil Dragon behind. He's only 4/10 behind. He's definitely going to have the power of that DRS. Meanwhile, Kong Hoffner, the one to watch on the soft compound tires. You can see the grip difference between himself and their championship leader. The 2 contenders going side by side. Jordan absolutely squeezing Kong Hoffner to the inside there, and he maintains P7 for now, but for how long? He's on the hard compound tires and he's not within a 1 second gap of Lawrence ahead of him. Gazaman continuing to lose time to M. Pricey ahead as well. So M. Pricey just running away at this stage, trying to build out a bit of a gap. Meanwhile, we're seeing Aero Specialist put on Evil Dragon under a bit of pressure. He's using his ERS for the entire straight. He wants to get past, and he wants to get past now. So he looks to the inside line. Evil Dragon braking nice and late, but with the inside line for turn 2, Aero Specialist getting that move done. Meanwhile, Kong Hoffner also getting the move done on his championship rival ERT Jordan. He moves up to P7. He's now going to push on to try and catch up to the DRS of Lawrence ahead of him. But You can see here, Evil Dragon now looks to the outside of turn 5 of Aero Specialist. It's very close between the two of them. We can see a great view here from Gabri's angle, but Aero Specialist maintaining that P3 position. All this battling is costing them time to Gazaman, yet they're still in the DRS because of that medium tire advantage. But wow, what a restart that was. Plenty of overtakes were made there. And Kong Hoffner really making good use of softs. He's almost within DRS of Lawrence. So do you think maybe the soft compound strategy call might have been one of the better ones?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think I think the hards are like a second and a half slower than the softs, possibly. So he can make the most out of those tires, catch up to Lawrence now, try and get into the DRS, which he already is, and try and make the moves, and then hopefully push to Gabri to get back into that DRS of them, so he can try and make his way up that grid before he needs to pit again, which shouldn't be too long before he'll need to pit again. So just have to wait and see how he does for the rest of his stint.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said before, the soft tires don't really last long, so he really needs to make use of them while they still have tire life in them. And so far, he's put them to good effect. He's broken DRS to ERT Jordan behind, so that's very crucial for him. And but he will have to make that pit stop soon, like I said. So yeah, for now, just make the most of these tires. Although Evil Dragon, all the way from P4, I think it was, has had a spin on the exit of turn 7, struggling to get back on track. But he now falls all the way down behind his teammate. He's down in P13, an unfortunate spin from Evil Dragon there, after having such a consistent race last time out. A little uncharacteristic, you have to say. So down in P13, he's got front wing damage. He's going to have to make an unscheduled stop, and that has really hurt his chances of a podium in this race. And yeah, real shame to see there, but you can see that has promoted quite a few drivers. Lawrence gets promoted into P5, and he now has the opportunity to put Gabri under some pressure. Kong Hoffner getting promoted to P6, and still has a bit of life left in those soft compound tires, so you know that he is going to make those use those to good effect. We also have Aero Specialist right on the back of Gazaman. Gazaman just holding on with the hard compound tires. A 1.7 second gap has actually formed between Aero Specialist and Gabri, and that looked like a bit of a mistake there from Gabri on the exit of turn 4. It cost her a little bit of time, and that now brings Lawrence into just 2.5 tenths within Gabri ahead, and he's on the hard compound tires, so he's not going to have as much grip at this. Show that Gabri is definitely struggling for pace, as cannot get back within that DRS of Aero Specialist's head. Meanwhile, Aero Specialist's teammate Racing Bomber makes a move on Rich 500 to move himself up into P8, and now on the back of the DRS of ERT Jordan, currently P7 in this race and struggling to keep up with the soft runner of Kong Hoffner ahead of him. But yeah, so we have Aero Specialist P2 and or P3, I should say, right behind P2 of Gazaman. I can see he's now set the fast half of the Grand Prix and using his ERS to get past Gazaman, so he's using these medium tires as much as he can. Meanwhile, Lawrence using the hards. It's a bit of a touch and go defense there from Gabri. Lawrence couldn't predict where he was going to go, and then Pricey, who was just going to talk about having such a good safety car restart, has now had a spin coming out of turn 2. He's broken his front wing, and he falls all the way down to P7. So, and he's also got a stop to make because he has absolutely no front wing. So yeah, I was just going to talk to you about Pricey, but now down in P7 and no front wing and 2 stops to make in this race. How do you think that's going to affect his race?
It's hurt him massively, I think. He's going to have to probably go for a set of hards now and try and stretch them to the end to go for a set of softs and bank on a safety car to try and have any hope of getting back some of those places he's lost with that spin. So I think, yeah, he's definitely going to fall back massively because of that.
And it could hurt his chances of possible podium because he pulled out a great gap to Gazaman behind, although he does have 2 stops to make, so maybe that would have affected him towards the back end of the race. This now gives Aero Specialist the lead of the Grand Prix, and it's pretty much happened. This is why you conserve, you save that extra set of hard compound tyres for later on in the race, because Aero Specialist comes into the pit lane, is now going to go onto the hard compounded tyres, which can most likely stretch until the end of the race, although I definitely think the safety car will be making another appearance in this race. So, yeah, there you go. That goes to show the flexibility that the hard compound tyres give you. So you can see Kong Hofner on the softs. Great strategy from him to predict the safety car, using the softs to the absolute maximum, getting the most out of them, and then boxing straight away for the hard compound tires. So Kong Hofner, great strategy from him. He's going to be really happy with that. Pricey, though, decides to go for the soft compound tires, so he's going a bit more aggressive. He's obviously going to go soft hard because he has one more stop to make after this. And that just shows that he was a little bit more on the back foot after not making that stop, and that spin has only hurt him more. So, yeah, he's down to P14 and still has a stop to make in this race. So if we take a look at the stops from all the drivers, we can see that only 4 drivers have made both of their mandatory stops. Aero Specialist is, well, technically the current net leader, because all their drivers ahead of him still have a 25-second pit stop to make. So he is the net leader, with Kong Hofner in a net P2. So that's soft compound tire working out really, really well for him. He's gone from pretty much the back of the grid to now challenging for a podium and a race win. And then we have Rich 500 on the net podium. So you can see these guys are currently down in P12, P10, P13. Not in the best positions right now, but it's definitely going to work out in their favor so long as there isn't another safety car, as if there is, it could definitely hurt them a little bit more. But yeah, what do you think of that? Kong Hofner going all the way from the back of the grid to now being on the net podium.
I think he's realised he's had to. He does have to make up a lot of ground after being middle of the pack, especially after the safety car restart. And I think he's just done just that, like you said. So he's put himself in a really good position to battle for a win or even a podium.
I definitely think that's exactly what he's going to be aiming for in this race. And yeah, it's just great now that we have this championship dynamic. We can see who's challenging who. Where do you need to be relative to these certain drivers? We have Gazman and Jordan, both on one stop. They still have one stop to go. Meanwhile, we have their 2 contenders, Aero Specialist and Kong Hofner, down in P12 and P10, but on the net podium because you have those 2 stops already made. So yeah, it just adds a whole new dynamic to this race. So and a 4-way fight for the championship battle. 4 drivers separated by 6 points is absolutely crazy to see. But I guess that's what happens when you have a different race winner for all 5 rounds that we've had so far. So yeah, this P3 tier likes to put on a show, to say the least. But the safety car is now going to be coming in this lap. We have Gazman leading us away for this second safety car restart, and Gabri follows directly behind him. So Gabri putting herself in a good position, although being on those medium compound tires, I think it definitely would have been a good idea to box for those hards, because anyone who's on the mediums and would have boxed for the hards could have been in a net P top 6, top 8. So I think, for me personally, I don't think that was the best strategy. Although, like we've seen time and time again, maybe they are banking on that safety car. And technically, if that safety car comes out, they will be in a very, very good position. So maybe that's exactly what they're trying to do. Maybe going for a bit of a riskier strategy because they were a bit further back. But we now see Gazman to set himself up nicely for turn 16. When does he pick his time to go for the safety car restart? And the time is now, and it's a great restart up against Gabri. Gabri getting good restart, and Lawrence. ERT Jordan getting a better one though. So Jordan is looking to make the move down the inside coming into turn 1 on Lawrence, and you can see Jordan the inside line, Lawrence on the outside. Lawrence turns to the inside for turn 2 though, but Jordan has the better grip and moves himself up into P3. That's a spin though from Aero Specialist, and Evil Dragon falling off the back of the top 13. So Aero Specialist, after being in the net lead, has fallen all the way down to P15. and that is really going to affect his race quite heavily. Evil Dragon struggling to keep up with the guys ahead of him. Kong Hoffner now takes the net lead off of Aero Specialist, so the Alfa Romeo driver in a very, very good position at this stage of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, near the front, we have Gazaman leading from Gabri from the new ERT Jordan, who's got onto the podium. Speed Quinn, though, has a spin coming out of turn 9, that is, and has retired from the session. And that has brought out the safety car. And while the safety car has been brought out, Racing Bomber and Lawrence D were going side by side. So, third safety car in 11 laps. We know that a lot of drivers in this division, they're struggling with that consistency, but that's just something that comes with practice and experience. So hopefully, maybe next season, they'll be very consistent, and hopefully we'll see a little less of the familiar sight of the yellow flags and the full course safety car. But Gabri, I think, passed the pit lane, possibly, although I'm not sure, maybe just didn't have enough time to react there on whether to box or not for the hard compound tires, along with Synex. I definitely think Synex had enough time to react, but both Williams drivers deciding to stay out on the medium compound of tires. So they've gotten that second chance, all the guys who didn't box the hards, and they now have fresher tires than all the guys who boxed on the safety car before for those hard compound tires. So people, Racing Bomber, Pricey and Alls, definitely very good on the tire strategy. They've lost a little bit of track position because of the strategy choice, but they're on the same strategy now. No more stops to make, and quite a bit fresher tires, although most of the laps done on Kong Hoffner's Rich 500, Evil Dragon and Aero Specialist tires were under the safety car. So I don't think the tire wear deficit will be major, but it will definitely be present. But having a look at both of the Williams strategies, do you think it was the right call? Do you think they're banking on yet another safety car right after this to go to the hards, or do you think that wasn't the best play from them?
I think at least one of them should have pitted, because having one of them on a different strategy to the other will benefit one, or will benefit at least one of them. So I think one of them should have pitted, maybe going to a set of hards, and then if safety car comes out later, softs, or if you can reuse that set of mediums, that would be possible. So, like I said, I think one of them should have pitted.
Yeah, and with the double stacking, it definitely was difficult, but after Gabri didn't come into pit lane, I think it definitely would have been a good strategy for Synex to come in. But both the Williams drivers staying out of the pit lane, and I think we know from the past they're very good teammates together. They work well together. I'm fairly sure they're in a party together for most of the races, so they have that communication between each other. They can decide what strategy both of them are going for, and the all-Italian team have been struggling recently, but we'll have to see if they can do any better in this race, because currently, track position-wise, Gabri doing quite nicely for herself, but strategy-wise, she's got it all to do in the next few laps. But Gazaman still leading with ERT Jordan in P3. Is there anyone who's already made a stop? As we know, they don't have any more stops to make, so technically, if you just get rid of all the top 7, all the way from P8 to P14, will be the net top 7 once everyone else ahead boxes, unless, of course, we see another safety car. So is there anyone in that bottom 7 who maybe surprises you for possibly challenging for a podium or a top 5?
I think Aero Specialist and Racing Bomber have always been capable of pulling a surprise out the bag this season. So I would hope they'd be able to do the same again. Pricey also kind of had his mistake sort of deleted. The two safety cars managed to pull him back into a pretty good spot. Now that he's on the hard, he can go to the end, and he's technically ahead of the top 7 once they pit after the safety cars. So I'd say them 3 have been a good spot, and then obviously you've got Kong Hoffner, Rich, and Evil Dragon all in very good spots. They're the net top 3 at this moment in time.
Yeah, so definitely the two Alpine drivers could work together to get a good result for their team. And Kong Hoffner, the man in the championship battle, is in a great position. But once again, Gazaman going for a very late safety car restart. When is he going to pick his time? He's allowing Gabri to get nice and close. And his time is now, and you can see Hooky has jumped the ball there, and has overtaken a lot of cars. He's had to slow down there to let everyone through, and by doing so, he's lost all of the positions that he was trying to gain. Although Evil Dragon allowing Hooky to stay ahead there, but you can see he's lost position to Kong Hoffner, Rich 500, and Cynex 2, maybe MFC Trunders as well. So he's lost a lot of that safety car restart. He just went too early with trying to overtake people. You can see M. Pricey actually DNF from the session. I think that could have possibly be due to all of the confusion under the safety car restart, with obviously Hooky just going too early there. He might have seen a couple of drivers speeding up and thought it was his time to go. But as we saw, it definitely was not. So it's a shame to see. We also see Racing Bomber has fallen all the way down to P13. So we now have Pricey and Racing Bomber. I think that could have been a collision between both of them, because Racing Bomber has absolutely no front wing. So Pricey has DNF'd, and Racing Bomber the back of the grid with no front wing. So possible collision there between the two of them, but two big names that were challenging for the podium are now pretty much out of this race. Obviously a safety car could still save Racing Bomber in this Grand Prix, but Gabri in P2 now, managing to maintain that position. Meanwhile, Lawrence has gone outside of that 1 second gap to ERT Jordan ahead, and this is allowing MFC Trunders to put under a little pressure. Meanwhile, his teammate Kong Hoffner looks to the outside of turn 1, around the outside of the Williams driver of Cynex. Very old medium compound tyres for the Italian, and he now drops to P7 as Kong Hoffner on an absolute mission here. He's in the top 6 now, and he's a pit stop ahead of everyone ahead of him, so doing very nicely for himself in this race. ERT Jordan loses the DRS. Well, once it's enabled, he will not have the DRS of the two ahead, so he needs to start pushing with the ERS to get back to where he was. And I think one thing with Cynex and Gabri, I think their tyres are going to start to get a little bit slower than the hards, because they've just been on them for so long. That's a spin there on the exit of turn 8 for ESW Hooky. He falls all the way down to P12 and is very far off of the back of the rest of the grid now. And yeah, that's not been very good for his race. With 18 laps to go, safety car could definitely still save him. Meanwhile, Racing Bomber has had to come into pit lane for his old medium compound tyres. MFC Trunders has a spin on the exit of turn 13. He now falls all the way down to P11, and that's 3 spins and 1 retirement that we've seen in the last 2 laps. So yeah, like I said, struggling with the consistency just slightly, and it's really hurting a lot of people's races. So MFC Trunders falling all the way down there. But yeah, we now have Gabri on the back, very close to Gazaman, so maybe the medium tyres are doing quite nicely for her, as Evil Dragon and Rich going side by side in turn 4. Evil Dragon with the outside line on Rich and makes his way all the way up into P7, and now on the back of Cynex, who struggles to keep up with the net leader and is outside of that 1 second range. So yeah, MFC Trunders, ESW Hooky, Racing Bomber and M. Pricey out of the session. And do you think that could be a big effect on the final race results?
Yeah, definitely, because MFC Trunders was up in P5 at the time, and it was a really good spot for him. He would have to have made another pit stop, but it was a good spot for him to be in. Racing Bomber, as we know, was in a pretty good spot but that, until he had his collision with Pricey, I believe. And again, Pricey himself, he was another person looking to be up there at the end of the race. So it's just Racing Bomber and Pricey have definitely drivers who could have been up there at the end have fallen to the back or retired, and they have had a huge effect now. So essentially, it becomes between Rich, Evil Dragon, and Kong Hoffner.
Yeah, so that could definitely affect the final race result. And another thing that could affect it is Gabri, who got past Gazaman coming into turn 1, has spun the car, has overheated the tyres, and has another spin coming into turn 3 from the race lead to P11. So really struggling with the tyre wear on the exit of turn 2 Meanwhile, Cyanex and Aero Specialist moving himself up into P7. Evil Dragon and Cyanex had quite the battle, and Evil Dragon almost DNFing from the race, as Cyanex was really fighting quite hard for that position. But yeah, a lot of has happened there. Obviously, M. Pricey, DNF, Racing Bomber, all the way at the back of the grid. Two drivers, like you said, could be challenging for a podium, but sadly not anymore. And then I think a lot more has happened since then. We now have Gazaman and ERT Jordan leading the race, one from another. And then we have Kong Hoffner, the net leader, almost in the DRS of Lawrence ahead. And Lawrence is also almost in the DRS of the top two. So Kong Hoffner is a pit stop ahead of everyone, and yet is still almost in the top three in the same position. So he's pretty much 25 seconds ahead of these guys, so he can just cruise at this point as Cyanex now comes into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Aero Specialist looks to the inside of Ridge 500 coming into turn 1, takes the sausage curb on the inside, and that lost him quite a bit of momentum there. So struggling to get past Ridge 500. They're both on the same strategy now, but you can see things starting to filter out a bit. A lot of the drivers who stayed out on their hard compound tires have now either boxed or fallen a bit further back, like MFC Trunders and ESW Hooky, who are now P9 and 10. Meanwhile, we have Colin Hoffner, Evil Dragon, Ridge 500, Aero Specialist, and Alls, who have no more stops to make in this race. So all of them in quite a good position. Meanwhile, the top three are only on one stop and still have one to go. So Colin Hoffner now into the DRS of Lawrence. Meanwhile, Aero Specialist putting plenty of pressure under Ridge 500. And then we have ERT Jordan and Gazaman battling away for the lead of this Grand Prix. So, yeah, there's a lot going on at this stage, but you can see that's a spin there from Lawrence. He got up on the sausage curb on the exit of turn 14, almost hit in to the side of Kong Hoffner, which could have taken him out of this race. Great avoidance there and good racecraft shown from Kong Hoffner to avoid that one. Meanwhile, Aero Specialist moves himself up into P5 by overtaking Rich 500 with the power of the DRS. So yeah, big spin there for Lawrence, which forces him to box for the medium compounded tires. Almost collected ERS Kong Hoffner, and that's another spin. That's Aero Specialist on the exit of turn 3, falling all the way down to P8. There's been a lot of spins in these recent laps, and this has really shuffled the grid now. So we have Lawrence, who had a spin, almost took out Kong Hoffner. That could have been tears for the Alfa Romeo driver, but thankfully they're both still in this Grand Prix. We have Aero Specialist, who had a spun on the exit of turn 3 right after overtaking Rich 500. He falls down to P8 and loses a good 6 seconds because of that. Meanwhile, his teammate Racing Bomber is able to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We now have Kong Hoffner, who's got no stops to go, onto the podium positions, with Evil Dragon 2 seconds behind in a bit of a no man's land right now. And I think he can just conserve himself, pace himself a little bit, because he is in a very, very good position. But yeah, the top two still battling away. You can see ERT Jordan using plenty of his ERS. It looks like he's looking to overtake, and that's exactly what he's going to do with the inside line coming into turn 1. Gazaman is going to concede that position and just slot him right behind. He's used a lot of his ERS, and he's now just trying to save a little bit of that ERS and allow Jordan to try and pull him along. But yeah, with all these spins and crashes, collisions, overtakes, is there anyone who's in quite a surprising position at this stage of the Grand Prix?
At the moment, Alls is in a good position at the moment. He's kind of snuck into the top 4, the net top 4 at the moment. So hopefully he is able to keep up that, maybe in fight for a podium with Rich if he can catch up to him in time. But yeah, I would have to go with Alls.
Yeah, Alls really putting in a good performance so far. He's kept it nice and consistent this race as well, so it's great to see from the Red Bull driver backing up his teammate in the Constructors' Championship. And yeah, I'm sure he'd be very happy with the P4. He also had a great result last time out in what was Hungary. I'm pretty sure he managed to get a top 5 after going for a very risky long stint with the medium compound tyres. So he's got good momentum from last week, and as you can see, he's bringing it into this week, and he's I think he's just gained 2/10 to Rich ahead, so he's got good pace at this stage of the Grand Prix and looking for a good result and possibly a podium in this Grand Prix. So the grid has been truly shuffled at this stage with drivers all over the place and not at all where we expected them to be. We have Evil Dragon pushing on to try and catch up to the back of Kong Hoffner ahead of him. These two will be battling it out for the race lead, although we've got 12 more laps of action to go after this one. So chances of a safety car are still there. But I think right now the main battle on track that we're going to focus on is between ERT Jordan and Gazman. These two are battling it out for pretty much race position because they're both on the same strategy. They're both going to be boxing for the medium compound tyres quite soon in this Grand Prix, and they're going to be battling it out for crucial points between each other. ERT Jordan in P1 in the standings and Gazman in P3. Kong Hoffner in P2 though, but after this race it could be P1 for him. So yeah, what do you think the guys, obviously Gazman and ERT Jordan, the main guys, what do you think their strategy is now? We've got 12 laps of racing to go. Do you think they're trying to go to the mediums, or maybe it's a bit late for that? Do you think they could even be stretching until the soft compound of tyres?
I think it is too late to go to mediums. I think it would be better off for them to stretch out these tyres another 4 or 5 laps and go onto softs till the end.
Yeah, and it would give them very, very good pace and maybe a chance to catch up to some of the guys that they come out behind. And if we actually take a look at the gaps, if ERT Jordan and Gazman were to box on this very lap, they would be coming out either just behind or just ahead of ESW Hooky. So that would put them or slot them into P7 and P8, or maybe even P9 and P10. So they're not going to be in a great position, and they're going to have to try and catch up 10 seconds to the likes of Aero Specialist, MFC Trunders and Alls and Rich 500. So they're going to have a lot of work to do once they come in for their pit stop. So I think going for the soft compound tyres could definitely help them for their final stint. But while those two have been going away, Gazman saving up his ERS, we also see the battle between MFC Trunders and Aero Specialist. MFC Trunders not getting a good exit out of turn 15. It's a snap of oversteer for him. This is now giving Aero Specialist the opportunity to make the move on MFC Trunders, using plenty of his ERS to find a way past. And it looks like MFC Trunders just missing his braking point there, or maybe not, because Aero Specialist slowed down quite a bit, and that is because the full core safety car has been released. So yeah, what a result this has become for the top two. They've gotten really, really lucky with that, because without this safety car, they were looking at a possible P8 and P7 finish, so it would not have been good for them. But now they're looking to possibly continue to battle for the win. So, yeah, do you think everyone at this stage is going to box for softs?
It's really close to tell, because I think it's just out the range for the softs. But under the safety car, you can kind of nurse the soft tyres around for a couple of laps, and so it kind of stretches them a bit longer. So I think it is definitely a choice to make right now, especially for ERT Jordan and Gazman. They will definitely pit. Just depends on whether they go for mediums or softs. We'll have to see in the coming seconds, because they are just entering the pit lane now. Kong Hoffner is coming in as well, and followed by Evil Dragon, and we'll have to see in a few seconds if Rich goes to pit as well. Rich is also pitting. Alls is following. I think everyone's coming in for a pair of softs. ERT Jordan has gone on to a pair of mediums, so I think he's taken the safer option. Maybe he thinks the softs just will not make it. Otherwise, the majority of other drivers that have pitted are all coming in for a fresh set of softs. So we are looking at a shootout for the end.
Yeah, and I mean, this has absolutely saved the races of ERT Jordan and Gazman. They got it exactly when they needed it, because without this... without this safety car, they just would have lost so many points to Kong Hoffner, who is now just behind them. So yeah, it's a shame for Kong Hoffner. He's definitely going to be quite angry with this one, because this was his chance to gain a lot of points in the championship. But he's just got to play the cards he's dealt with, and we are going to have about 9 laps or so of racing. Once the safety car comes in, that's if it comes in this lap. So I think we're going to have about 8 laps of racing. I think the softs can definitely make it that much, but ERT Jordan could be a lot stronger towards the final, let's say, 3 laps. So he's going to lose quite a bit of track position off the start, although if he uses his ERS wisely and stays ahead of, or only loses positions to Gazman and Kong Hoffner, and then has the better tyres for the last 3 laps, could be looking at a race win here. It's very hard to call at this stage, but yeah, I feel kind of bad for Kong Hoffner there. This has really hurt his race after what was going to be such a great race for him, starting all the way from the back of the grid, having a great strategy, which is exactly what you need in these kind of races with lots of safety cars and a 2-stop rule. But yeah, he's going to have to try and find the pace, use his ERS wisely, pick his battles, and hopefully win this Grand Prix. But we could see the 3 championship contenders onto the podium. Meanwhile, Aero Specialist is down in P6, so he has got some ground to make up in this race, and he's got to overtake Rich 500 and Evil Dragon before he can start battling his main rivals. But yeah, looking a little further towards the back of the grid, we obviously have Gabri, who's not had the best race ever since that spin out of turn 1 after making the move for the lead of the Grand Prix. That just shows how quickly things can go from great to bad, as yeah, Gabri was in the lead of the Grand Prix at one point and then falls all the way down to P12, and now at the back of the grid, joined by Racing Bomber, who's also looking to challenge for a podium. ESW Hooky not having a good race. Cynex, he's in P9 now, he's in the points, and he's got a chance to possibly get a top 7, maybe a top 6, so he's definitely in a good position, and he can make something of this. All's an unlucky safety car for him. He's looking for a top 5 in this race, but now it's looking more likely to a top 7, maybe even a top 8 or 9 if he loses a few positions to the drivers behind. But looking at ERT Jordan's medium compound tires, do you think that strategy is going to work out for him? Do you think the deficit is going to be big enough for the final few laps?
I don't think I'd rule him out. Like you said earlier, he should be much stronger than the soft runners for those final 3 laps. It just depends on, until he gets into those final 3 laps, if he can hold on to the back of like Gasserman, Kong Hoffner, Evil Dragon. If he can hold on to those drivers, staying within DRS and use his ERS wisely, like you said, he might be able to use that advantage that he will have in those last few laps to try and gain himself back into the podium positions or even the win.
And he's going to have to push quite hard if he wants to do that, especially in these opening stages, while the drivers behind are going to be all over the back of him. But he has got the advantage of leading on the safety car restart. He gets to pick when the guys behind him start to push. And you can see that's a great restart up against Gazaman, who we know tends to struggle on the safety car restart. It's a 1.1 second gap to the guys behind. This is the absolute perfect safety car restart for ERT Jordan. Could not have asked for a better one. Meanwhile, MFC Trunders putting pressure under the Red Bull of Alls, pulls out of the slipstream, just does not have the straight line speed to get past coming into turn 1. Meanwhile, Racing Bomber goes side by side with the ESW Hooky, pushes him wide going through turn 1, and that forces Hooky to back out of defending that position. Aero Specialist currently P6. He needs to try and find a way past Rich 500 because Rich is currently outside of the DRS of the top 4. Meanwhile, ERT Jordan has maintained his lead for this lap 26, and that is a very, very good way to start off these final few laps. These final 8 laps, I should say. So it's been a good way to start off so far with ERT Jordan. But Gazaman is going to try and make the most of these soft compound tires while they've got the most life in them. So we definitely could see a move very, very soon, maybe even without the power of the DRS. But we now see MFC Trunders and Alls going side by side into turn 12. Alls with the inside line for turn 13, but you can see there's contact there between the two of them. That causes a big pile up with the cars behind. A lot of people have lost front wings because of that. One of the Williams, that was Cynex, I think, has lost a front wing because of that collision. Meanwhile, Gazman setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix. You can see P8, P9, P10, P11 are now in a big battle, but I'm not sure which one of them actually has their full front wing intact. So it's going to be very difficult for all of these drivers. Meanwhile, we have the Alpine and the Williams going side by side, and ERT Jordan has a spin coming through turn 3, had a snap of oversteer, and he falls all the way down to what is now P11, and outside of the points it could be P12 if Alls finds a way past. And it looks like he looks to the inside, and he actually gets the move done because ERT Jordan's tyres are now overheated. So the championship leader taking a big blow when he had a great opportunity to possibly win the Grand Prix. He is now outside the points. He's not looking to score any points. Meanwhile, Gazman has the lead of this race. Kong Hoffner is going to have to do everything in his power to deny him this race win and challenge and continue challenging for the championship title. These guys separated by just one championship point. It's been so close between them. These two guys have been at the top of the tables ever since the very start of the season. The two old rivals now coming head to head for this race win in on the Circuit de Catalunya. Meanwhile, we also have Aero Specialist, another championship contender, putting plenty of pressure under the McLaren of Rich 500. He uses all of his ERS because he needs to find a way past, and he finally does. He's up into P4 and the top 4 positions, 2.3 seconds off of the podium positions. He's got to continue pushing, making the most of these soft compound tires for the final few laps. Lawrence is also making moves into turn 1 because he has the inside line on Cynex. Cynex going for the switchback. He almost makes it work, but Lawrence defending it quite nicely. But you can see there's contact between the two of them as Lawrence drifts out wide, and ERT Jordan makes a great advantage of that, really uses it quite nicely. A great switchback from him, gaining 2 positions in 1. A bit of a Hamilton style move there, making 2 moves with the switchback, and he moves all the way up into P9. He's going to get some points in this race, but it's not going to be anywhere near as much as he expected. Evil Dragon is currently in the top 3, and he is in a 3-man DRS train, and the one place you don't want to be in a 3-man DRS train is 3rd, so he's going to be using everything in his power to try and find a way past Kong Hoffner or Gazaman. So we'll have to see if he can do just that. You can see he's got about 70% battery left in his engine, so he's got a bit to play with, and you can see using a little bit out of the exit there, but not using too much. He doesn't want to burn it all at this stage of the Grand Prix. But we now have a new top 3 as Racing Bomber sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix. He's looking at a possible P7 here, but he needs to break a 3-second gap to Gabri behind because of his track limits penalty. But at this stage of the Grand Prix, the top 3, Gazaman, Kong Hoffner and Evil Dragon, 3 names that we've seen at the top time and time again. Who do you think is in the best position in this race?
I think Kong Hoffner possibly, because all he needs to do is stick behind Gazman and hopefully get him in the last lap to secure that win. And he's been on a mission today all through this race, overtaking people left and right, making his way up the grid from his engine penalty. So I would put my bet on Kong Hoffner at this moment. And
let's hope he can do just that and take the win away from Gazaman and take the championship lead as well from ERT Jordan, who's going to take a big hit in this Grand Prix. But the top 3 are going to continue to battle on. We are now about to enter lap 30 of 33. Only 4 more laps of racing to go, so it's not long left. These drivers need to pick when is their time to push, when do they want to start using that ERS. Meanwhile, Evil Dragon hasn't been using much of his ERS, and that now means that he is on the back foot because he had DRS for that straight, but he's outside of a second gap to Kong Hoffner ahead. He needs to start using a bit of his battery, a bit of his pace, a bit of his tyres to get back into that DRS of the top 2. Meanwhile, this is giving Aero Specialist a bit of a chance to catch up to these guys, and 3 of the championship contenders now back into the top 4. And yeah, you can see why these four guys, I should say, is ERT Jordan is among them, but he's had another spin at the very same turn. He tries to go flat out through turn 3. A snap of oversteer means he spins the car, and any chance of points he once had, possibly coming P9, are now definitely gone, as he's down in P12 and about 8 seconds away from the point. So a shame to see from ERT Jordan, but it's even worse for him because his 3 rivals in the top 4 and about to score plenty of points, and Jordan could fall all the way from P1 in the standings down to P4 after this performance. So yeah, this is one of the more crucial races in the championship. But like you said, with Kong Hofner, he's been a man on a mission. Started all the way from the back of the grid, and to be precise, he actually started all the way down in P13, so or P12 I should say. He started all the way in P12 and has moved all the way up into P2. It's been a really good race from him so far, and let's hope that he can continue this form and possibly get the race win from Gazaman, as it would be absolutely great for him. But we can now see Aero Specialist has caught up to the DRS of the top 3, so he's gotten himself into this battle now. He's on the teetering edge of that DRS, but I think he has the pace to get into the DRS. As you can see, we are now coming onto this DRS straight on the run down into turn 10, and if we take a look at that rear wing, it is wide open, gaining him plenty of time, making his car very slippery in a straight line. And we now have a 4-way fight for the lead, as Gazaman is finishing up the final sector and preparing himself for the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. And now, with Aero Specialist on the scene, could we possibly see him getting a podium in this race?
From what we've seen in this race, anything can happen. Aero Specialist might be able to because during these next couple of laps, these 4 drivers have all got to push their hardest and get into and try and overtake the people ahead of them. Like, Aero Specialist needs to fight for this podium, so we can expect to see some pushing, a lot of ERS being used, and some massive lunges to try and get into that spot. And Aero Specialist might have to try and take advantage if any of the drivers ahead of him decide to make one of those big moves to try and gain position. So I think that's what Aero Specialist has to hope for at the moment.
And I think that would definitely be his best bet to possibly save some of his battery. But you can see he's not got much left, and that's because he was pushing nice and hard to get within the DRS of the guys ahead of him, because that's exactly where he needed to be. Meanwhile, his teammate has had great recovery. He went all the way from 40 seconds off of anyone else, all the way at the back of the grid, to now P5 and challenging for what is P7 after his penalty is applied. If he can break that gap to Rich behind to 3 seconds, he could be looking at P6 in this race, and that would be a great result. But Gazaman is now coming through the final turn to begin the final lap of this Spanish Grand Prix. Who will take victory on Spanish grounds? It'll be interesting to see. Aero Specialist not gaining time to Evil Dragon, and Kong Hofner is quite a way away from Gazaman, and he's not able to make the move into turn 1. Do you think you have to think maybe he was pushing with the ERS, maybe just a little too late? Maybe he's going to have to look for a move into turn 10, though. That is another DRS straight, but he needs to stay focused and make sure he stays nice and close to the back of Gazaman. Gazaman on just 9% ERS. He's used all of his battery to get here. Meanwhile, Aero Specialist has had a spin on the exit of turn 4, and he's been pushing nice and hard to try and stay up with those guys, but you can see he's now going side by side with his teammate as Racing Bomber finds a way past, but the battle for the lead continues. It does not look like Kong Hofner is going to be able to get this move done using his ERS on this DRS straight. Gazaman has absolutely nothing left on the tank, but it's enough to maintain the lead coming into this final technical sector, and the chances are slim that ERS Kong Hofner is going to find a way past now in these very slow turns. We'll have to see, though. Gazaman a 7/10 lead coming into the final 3 turns of the circuit and of the entire race. And as we see him come through the final turn of turn 16, Gazaman is going to come across the line to win the Spanish Grand Prix. He finishes P1 with Kong Hoffner and Evil Dragon finishing on the podium for AlphaTauri and AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo. Aero Specialist, even after his spin, was able to maintain P4. MFC Trunders, the Alfa Romeo teammate of Kong Hoffner, doing a good job for his teammate in backing him up in the Constructors' Championship. He gets a great result with P5. Rich 500 manages P6 with Gabri getting a good few points, finishing P7. Racing Bomber with the 3-second time penalty, and I think he had a spin on the final lap too, finishes down in P8. Alls sadly finishing down P9 after that final safety car, and Lawrence is the final points finisher for Ferrari. He finishes P10 in this Grand Prix, but wow, what a race. I really don't think anyone could have predicted what could have happened there.
No, absolutely, that was an absolutely outstanding race by all the drivers who finished in top places. Really unfortunate for Aero Specialist to have that spin really late on. He made a lot of work to get into that DRS train, so it's a massive shame for him. That whole last lap was just intriguing to watch. Just see who, if Kong Hoffner could make that move. Unfortunately, he couldn't. But massive congratulations to Gazzaman. He's been up there this entire race, and he managed to secure his win. And
the streak continues. Not a single driver has won 2 races in this season. For the past 6 rounds, we have had a different race winner in every single one of them. And Gazzaman is now the 6th driver to win a race in this P3 tier in season 21. And it helps his championship hopes as Gazzaman now takes the lead of the championship heading into the penultimate round of the season. But with Kong Hoffner just 4 points, or 2 points behind, I think it is. The margins are so minor at this stage. It's going to be very, very close between the two of them for the final 2 rounds. Aero Specialist also just a couple of points away, but meanwhile, ERT Jordan is going to lose about 17 or 18 points to Gazzaman. So he's going to have plenty of work to do in the final 2 rounds. But what a great race that was. If I had to give my driver of the day to one of these drivers, it would have to be ERS Kong Hoffner. And one thing that matters so much in one-hub racing is the strategy, how you decide on the strategy, how you make these important calls. And one thing I would ask to Kong Hoffner is, when you went for those soft compound tires on the first safety car, were you predicting another safety car so that you could go to those hard tires until the end? But Toma, I'm interested to hear, who would be your driver of the day?
I'll probably have to go our race winner with Gazzaman. He clearly had a strategy in mind, and he executed it almost flawlessly. And even the safety cars helped him along that way, and he made the right choices under the safety car, staying out when he could have gone in, and then going onto the softs of that final safety car, and that secured his win, really. My answer to him would be, were you banking on other safety cars staying out on the hard tyres so long? And when was, let me restart that. If you use the safety cars so well, and you corrected your strategy and stayed out on the tyres, did you know it was the right time to move to softs when you did?
Yeah, and obviously, as commentators, we really want that insight on the strategy that is oh so important here in this P3 tier. And the strategy allows drivers to win Grand Prix, and it's Gazzaman's first time winning a Grand Prix, even though before this race he had 2 podiums. He got a podium, well, P2 to be exact, in round 1 and 2, and he now finally gets that race win and the lead of the championship. So I do hope you enjoyed this Spanish Grand Prix.
Sorry to cut you off. Do you need to mention all of our sponsors as part of this as well?
And you're exactly right. I just get so caught up in all of the action that's constantly happening in this P3 tier. We just never get a break. But obviously, one of One Hub Racing sponsors is Next Level Racing. They provide some great sim gear, cockpits, play seats, you name it. And they provide some really, really high quality stuff. I've been looking into it for a while now, and I think I'm going to be getting mine quite soon. So definitely go check out the link to their website in the link in the description.
I'll also continue to mention one of our partners. It's the team that I'm a part of, ERT. We partner the league, and they also provide the trophies of and prizes for the top drivers, and also award the ERT Going Gets Tough award, which is awarded to drivers who stick it out till the end, turn up for every race, answer every single media question, turn up, get involved with the league, and show that even when they have bad races, stick it out till the end, anything can happen.
Another one of our sponsors here at One Hub Racing, which we are so thankful for, is GamerGoo. They provide a great product. It's a special cream that you can put on your hands to get rid of all that pesky sweat when you're going for that big gaming session, so that you don't lose grip on your wheel or you don't get sticky hands all over your controller. So be sure to go check them out. There is a link in the description.
And also followed by another partner in Vespertine, who provide all the merch and support championship prizes. They provide things like hoodies, t-shirts, hats, I believe water bottles, shorts, all the kind of stuff you expect to find on a merch stand. I have some of it myself. It is very comfortable, so I would highly recommend it. I'm sure there will be links in the description for them as well.
Another website I'd recommend go checking out is the Pure Sim Gear website. They provide racing gloves not only for their customers, but also for the drivers right here in One Hub Racing. And the driver with the most combined pulls and fastest laps wins himself a free pair of Pure Sim Gear gloves. And well, if you want to go buy yourself some of those gloves, you can check them out with the link in the description.
And to finish off, mention our last partner in SimGrid, which is how One Hub Racing is. The league is ran through, the website is ran through, where all our sign-ups, you can check all the standings, rules, who is attending each race. Sign up yourself, I believe, if you want to sign up for, I believe every tier, most tiers do have some spaces in at the moment, so I'd recommend get yourself in, get involved in the league experience, and also try and get in there for those last couple of races, and try and send a message to everyone else that if you did sign up for the beginning of the season, you would be up there. So I would highly recommend it. There will be a link down in the description as well.
And that is all of the partners and sponsors here at One Hub Racing. And that is how we're going to end off this round 6 of season 21 here in the P3 tier. What a Spanish Grand Prix it was. And our 6th race winner of the season. Well, if you'd like to see our 7th race winner, be sure to tune in next week, 7 o'clock BST UK time, and on a Friday evening. We hope to see you there. And that's all from myself and Toma.